So I'd like to introduce to you the new buy to sell project car. This is a Ford Focus LX Estate. It has a 1.6 diesel engine. It has a few issues, has some cosmetic issues as well. I'll show you around the car and show you what we got. So the first thing I noticed about this car is it looks like somebody's reversed into a bollard or something, or like a bike has gone up against it with the handlebar and clipped it. Who knows, could have been anything. Basically there's one dent there, and then there's a dent in the boot, just here, a little crease. Yeah, that's it. Apart from that, the rest of the bodywork is pretty tidy. Paintwork seems to be in relatively good condition. Paintwork apart from one corner at the front. Got some clear coat scratches there. Should just be able to sand and maybe re-lacquer that one part. Yeah, it's just lacquer. If it disappears when you get it wet, then usually it's something that you can polish out. It is more work though, which is a bit of a pain. And it extends just down here onto the wing. I don't know if it's going to pick it up in the light. You can definitely see a little bit of it here at the top. Look, these little bits of scuffing here. They have to come out. The headlights look nice and clear and bright. The front grille is with the car, but the bonnet catch is broken, so we'll have to repair that. We can still get it open for now, but it's going to be a bit annoying. And I did get this car for £200, so it was cheap. But this is the condition that you can expect to get things in if you were going to buy a car for £200. You know, the cams are out. This is the head of the engine. The only thing I've done, literally, is I connected up a hose onto the back of the expansion tank, and I just pressure tested it just to have a quick look to see if the last guy's call was right. I agree with him. Looks like there's a crack in the head, and there's it's leaking water inside the engine, which is no good. Thankfully not into the oil. It looks like it's just been leaking into a combustion chamber, but it's not necessarily a head gasket fail. It to be honest, doesn't really matter what the problem is. It's got an internal coolant leak. I'm not going to rebuild the engine. When new engines for these are sort of £200 to £300, it's kind of a no-brainer really, the time involved, and you're just better off putting in a unit that you know works, that has like a warranty on it. So to kick things off, I'm just going to remove the battery. Going to start doing that by just disconnecting those terminals. So there's a couple of stays on either side. There's one just here, which we need to work loose. Just going to keep winding that out for a couple of seconds and then do the other side, which is a little bit further down. I think that one there is off. There we go. Same on this side here. Just basically keep going until the nut is all the way out. There we go. And that will come out of the way. Make sure you don't lose the nut on that side as well. and you can pull the cable out of the way. So considering that I am removing the engine from this car, I'm going to try and remove the cowling at the back. The reason why is just because it's going to make it a little bit easier for me to get the engine in and out. And also I'm doing it now because I'll be able to pull the battery out easier. But however, just bear in mind, it does look like this little battery tray does come apart, so you should be able to pull this front off and then get enough angle on it, possibly to put it out this way. You might have to remove like top of the airbox or something as well. That looks like a faff. I'd rather pull things out in one whole section if I can, and I intended on removing the cowling anyway, so I'm just going to do that now. So the cowling starts with removing these two little rubber bungs that go over the nut. Now I just want to get the nuts off. Okay, that's one. And there's two. So you may need a puller type tool to remove these. I'm just going to try and pry mine off first, just give it a little push. So I've soaked these for a while now. That flew off. Okay. Just try and don't go mad on it because you don't want to snap anything with plastic. Okay, that one there's a little bit more stuck on. This is the kind of stuff that you would usually run into. What I might try and do is just give that a little. Okay. Just try and give that a little bit of persuasion on this end. It can be such a pain sometimes when you don't want to come off. Okay, this one here's going to need a little bit more persuasion. No sooner had I said that, it just decided to pop right off on its own. Okay, so we'll just set these to one side, and then we can, there's a couple of tabs to remove along this bottom edge, and then we can pull it up and out. So I'll just show you one of these up close. You basically just grab it and pull it out. Simple as that. They see they've got these little locking tabs on the back which bite together, and then there's a load to take off all the way down the length of the cowling. So some of mine need a little bit of extra persuasion. I'm just going to employ the screwdriver. Okay, now I think we can just remove it. So I think I'm showing right now that I'm not hugely familiar with this model of Ford. I've worked on quite a lot of Fords in the past, but to be quite honest with you, I've not done that many Focuses. There is a cowl underneath the cowl, so it's only held in with 4 more bolts. There's 2 Torx bolts here, one here, and then the same on the other side, and there's 2 holding on the master cylinder to that as well. So we'll just whip those out, and then hopefully there's nothing underneath that. Okay, so I've removed all of the bolts, and now this should, I think, in theory, be free. And there it is. Now it's going to make life an awful lot easier to get our battery out. So we'll just lay that down there with the rest of the cowling, and then we'll put our bolts in there as well so we don't lose them. And as you can see, makes it a ton easier just to pull the battery straight out. Right, so while we're doing the rest of the job, the first thing that we wanted to do was just get the battery out of there. Now we're just going to let that charge. It might be no good, but it's not going to waste us any time if we just leave it there. And if it doesn't start the car, then fine, you know, we'll get another battery. Just going to remove the battery tray now. Okay, then we can just pull this out. So these clips on the front of this, just here, and then there's two here at the bottom. These are where the wires clip in, so we need to just pull them out. And then the whole battery tray comes out. So once you've reached this point, you've got the battery tray out and stuff. Obviously it's a shame really, because obviously I've got a lot of stuff here removed already, like the injectors and all the fuel union pipes here at the top. There's not much I can do about that. This is just how the car came to me, but you'll see how I put that back together when we reassemble. However, for now I want to remove the airbox. I want to remove the MAF. Just get a little screwdriver under there. These shouldn't be too difficult to remove, and then this should just pull out. Just give it a good old tug. It's just held in. Oh, it's cracked on the bottom. Look at that. It's just held in by these little things here. I'm trying to get that to focus. It's held on by these inside these. Since I have filled up the overflow tank for the coolant with water just to pressurize things, I basically just wanted to verify what the complaint was before, which I have. So I need to drain that out now, and I think the best way to do that is going to be to jack it up. I was just about to take off this little thermostat housing, coolant temperature sensors also there, various other hoses. I was just about to take that off, and I thought, well, I don't want to get coolant or water all over the floor and then roll around in it. So I'm going to try and drain that out first and then remove that, which involves jacking up the car. Okay then, so what we're looking at is removing the under tray. There are 3 bolts at the front, I think. 3, I think. And then one on this side up here. And then there is one here at the back, which I'm missing. And then there is usually one here as well. And even though this has been cable tied, I apologise for the shaky camera action, I'm still moving around. Even though this bolt here is in this big cable tie. So even though this will come out now, or will it? Okay, maybe that's where the cable ties there. Oh, okay, fine, that's where the cable ties there. Okay, that is loose. Okay, cool. So now this whole thing should be pretty much loose. I forgot about these two, just here, by the wheel arch. There's one side. And then one more just over here. On this side. And then that's it. The other tray is off. So, to drain the coolant, there is a little bung just here underneath the engine, which you just need to undo with a little flathead screwdriver. It will then start to drip out uncontrollably, like so, which is exactly what we want. Just keep going. And then just let all the water drain out. I'm just going to warn you now, no matter how well you drain the coolant, or no matter how well you think you've drained the coolant, as soon as you pull the engine, it will wet itself all over the floor again. So just drain it out as best as you can now, and just be prepared for the fact that there is definitely going to be more to come. There always is. So there's a fair bit to remove here. We've got 2 bolts here at the top, both 8mm, and then there's the same underneath. We have a sensor here, hose here, hose here, hose here, and then another hose here. And we need to get all of those off before we can pull this away from the head. What I would preferably like to do is remove all of the hoses and such like, and then unbolt it from the head. Okay, let's do this. Just going to remove the couple of these clamps first. There we go. Come on, wiggle off, and then you just want to give that a little wiggle as well. Ah, let's see. There we go. Even though you drain off the coolant as best as you can, there's always loads of stuff that comes out anyway. It's kind of hard to predict. You just need to position your little pan underneath. Just try and get that as good as you can. Same with that one there. There we go. Pull that one there off. All of these coolant hoses around here need to come off anyway, so just keep going until you get them all. There we go. Get this one here. There we go. Pull that one off. It's definitely not my day with fluids, huh? Just keep spilling crap all over the floor. Just get this sensor here out. See that? Just like want to get your screwdriver in there and just prise it away, like so, and then it'll just pop out like that. No problems. And then we've got this little sensor up here on top. Actually, not entirely sure how this one here comes off. It has a little, so that one there has a little plastic clip on it. I assume it just pulls out after that. Yes, it does. I'm just going to put this plastic clip back for now, so I don't lose it. Just pop that back like so. There we go. And then at the back there's another little plastic clip, which is pretty seized. I'm going to spray that first with a little bit of WD-40 before I try and remove that one. So I want to remove this lower intercooler pipe down here. Just going to try and push that down. There we go, that's off. And now we can remove this intercooler pipe up here. So it's just one bolt, just on this bracket down here. just need to remove. And then we can pull this out of the way. It's loose, but just need to get that the rest of the way out. There we go. A little bit of thread lock on that for whatever reason, so it was a little bit tougher to remove than usual. And then hopefully this should just come out, unless it's held in. Yes, it is. It's held in with another bolt just there on the gearbox, which we need to whip out. Okay, so that bolt down there is a 13mm, and then once it's loose, just pull the whole thing up and out of the way. And it's tangled on that pipe there. But yeah, essentially just pull the whole thing up and out of the way. I need 2 hands to untangle that because it's trapped on another pipe. Okay, so we've drained out the coolant, and we've just disconnected a couple of things up top. And I think just to carry on draining the fluids would probably be a good idea now. So I think now I'm going to drain out the engine oil and then drain out the gearbox oil. Okay, next thing we want to do is drain out the oil while we're on the subject of fluids. Wow, it's pretty tight all the way out. It's a 21mm, if anybody's wondering what size socket it is. Just going to move my my little bucket underneath, just in case. I must admit, it's unusual for one of these to be so tight all the way out. No, even right out here, still tight. I know what this means. It means it's gonna drop oil all over my hand. Usually what you try to do is try and undo it as much as you can, and then move your hand. You sort of like put a bit of pressure inwards while undoing it, while pushing in, and then once you run out of thread you pull it away quickly, and then you don't get any oil on yourself. But when they kind of stick right till the end like this one, you're kind of like almost definitely going to get oil on yourself. There we go. So I'm pushing in, winding the thread out, and then when I run out of thread like that, that's it, there we go. Oh yep, there's coolant in that for sure. I don't know if you could see it on the camera, but there was like bits of creamy colour as it came out in the oil. Definitely some coolant in that oil. I mean, who cares? I mean, we're putting another engine in this anyway, but it just goes to show, like, you know, we're definitely making the right call here. Just gonna let that drain out for a minute or two. Okay then, so once it's finished dripping, just wanna put the drain plug back in. I'm not worried about replacing the washer or anything. This engine is just going to end up going to scrappy anyway, so there's no point in fussing about anything like that. Okay, so this is draining the gearbox oil, and just want to bust that loose. There you go. And then that should just come out by hand now. Okay, so once that's removed, just let that drain out, and then that is the gearbox fluid done. Just want to wait for it to go to like a steady drip basically. So if your car has air conditioning like this one does, there are 4 bolts on a bracket. So there is 1, 2 on the bottom, and then on the top there is 1 just there and another 1 just there. I've already slackened these off, they're all 13mm, and then once you've done that, it will be free of the bracket just there, as you can see, which is good. There are a couple of extra bolts like this one here, 10mm. No need to faff around with that, just leave it alone. What I'm going to try and do is remove the engine and leave the air conditioning in place, just like so. I don't want to have to remove it. I don't even check if it's got any refrigerant in it. It might not, so it might not even work, but I don't want to remove it anyway. I just want to leave it as is, if possible. Okay, so we need to remove the drive shafts at some point, so these are also 13mm here. I just need to slacken off these 2 bolts. There is 1 up there, and then 1 down here. I need to just slacken those off, and then we can pull the drive shaft out. And then we also need to remove the ball joint nut, which is a 22mm. So just on that side there, I've already slackened these off. And then on this side here, there we go, just that. There we go. Just need to remove these. Once you have the nut off, it doesn't necessarily mean the ball joint is just going to pop out. You might need to smack on this part just here to bust it loose. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to try, I say try, operative word, I'm going to try and not remove the wheel and just try and pop the axle out and see how I go from there. Just got to keep going with this until it's off. So once you've broken loose the bolt on the ball joint, which is just down here, in here, just there, it should be relatively free. So what I like to do is push it from the top and then move the knuckle over. It's kind of hard to show. I might just put this on a stand for a second. Okay, let's do this. And there we go, it's free. So on the one side, the drive shaft should just pull out. Shouldn't be that difficult. Just pop it out the gearbox. On the other side, however, this can be a little bit more challenging. Is popping this out of this little collar. I'm going to take the collar all the way off to avoid extra damage. Like you can see here, someone's already been in there and smashed on it. Not done a good job. You don't have to take it all the way off like I did. That just kind of happened. But you definitely want to be able to remove it from this little sleeve here. You just want to tap it back that way.